Friday, May 10th, about 8:40 in the morning. Tech Tales 9. So yesterday, I did not go back out to MT, but I spoke with Bill on the phone and gave him an update of where I thought we are with his issue with the surveillance, access to the surveillance camera server. And he told me that it worked fine for him that morning, and I told him about my suspicions that network activity from other computers could be a source of trouble, so that if he finds again that it becomes a problem, we want to shut down other computers in the office and see if the problem goes away. I'm particularly suspicious about a computer that's in the same interior office that he's in, because it's certainly on that same side of that network switch that I have not found. I haven't really looked for, but haven't found it. So the technically curious side of me would like to pursue that project, even though that may not be warranted, but to respect the client's costs and because I have other things that I need to be attending to. I'm going to put that on the back burner and say no to my technical curiosity. So then a couple other things from yesterday that's worth mentioning. The computer that I had in the lab here to prepare for the technicians in the pest control company, I'll refer to the company as SJ. And my contact there was Brett. I think I've mentioned his name before. He had given me a computer that they had stored in their shop since it was replaced years ago, and I reformatted the hard drive. I actually deleted the partitions on it, installed Windows 10 from scratch, used the Windows 7 product key code that was on a sticker on the side of the computer in order to activate Windows 10, and did the basic configurations and delivered that computer to him yesterday. Did not set it up because they did not have the desk in place yet for it, so I just dropped it off and left. Then, let's see, I had lunch with my dad and my brothers. Before lunch, here's a phone call with Phil. I've mentioned his company before, and I incorrectly described it as, I don't recall, I said something about managing the retirement accounts for the clients. A more correct thing is they're a retirement plan administrator. So typically large companies that have retirement plans for their employees, they would administer those retirement plans. The money goes elsewhere for investments, but they manage the money going in, money coming out, the defining the plans, and managing those contacts for the employees of their clients. So anyway, he called and was having trouble connecting to the Toshiba copier through Adobe Acrobat on his computer, and he was trying to insert a file into an existing Adobe Acrobat file, and he was getting a prompt asking for network credentials. So he's asking me, what are my network credentials? I tried what I thought was right, and it did not work. Well, we found that message was misleading. That's what the computer was prompting him for, because the computer thought that's what was needed. I asked him to go to one of the other computers in his office and see if they're having trouble. He says, no, they're not having trouble. And so he humored me and went over to that other computer, and indeed it was having trouble. And actually first I asked him to get out of Adobe Acrobat and just try to open the scans folder on your desktop. We have a folder on the desktop it's a shortcut that reaches into the hard drive of the Toshiba copier, and he's getting the same prompt for network credentials. So when he went to Sarah's computer, he asked Sarah to minimize the other things she had open and just access her scans folder, and it also prompted her for the password. So then let's see, I think it was probably at that point I was suspecting public network, and I asked him to click on the icon in the system tray, the network icon in the bottom right corner, right click on it and choose, I think it's called Open Network and Sharing Center, and check to see if his computer has identified that as a public network or a private network. So when you open that, well, that's a Windows 7 computer. On a Windows 10 computer, it'll say private or public network. And it said public. And he was surprised at that. And I told him, well, sometimes a Windows update will cause that to happen with Windows 10. It's just an anomaly with Windows updates. So I talked him through changing that to private network, and then suddenly his scans folder worked fine. His inserting a file into Adobe Acrobat was fine. So that was a 10-minute phone call, and I told him he should go make that same fix to Sarah's computer and check the other Windows 10 computers in the office, because they might be having the same problem and just not realize it yet. And let's see, so this is still talking about that. That's the end of that phone call. So then back at the attorney's office that I've mentioned before, referring to them as PW, starting with, well, I went into their office to change the backup drives. That's all I was planning to do. It became more. It wound up being a 4-hour, 7-minute service call, starting at 2:53 p.m. and ending at 7 p.m. Yeah, my first note here is Leslie at the front, the second desk, that I've referred to this before in a prior Tech Tales, where she moved from one desk to this, what I was referring to as the second receptionist desk, but she wasn't going to be functioning as a receptionist. And what she's told me that the buttons on her phone don't work the way that they're labeled. And it turned out the method that I used to prevent her phone from ringing on incoming calls actually reassigned all of the buttons on her phone to match her old phone at her old desk. So we discussed a little bit about how to go about solving that. Either I go find a different solution for the ringing issue, or do a workaround solution. It turned out she was fine with the workaround solution. And what that was, low-tech solution. We went over to her old phone, took the plastic cover off of the labels for her buttons on the phone, and we took that label over to the phone where she's at now and put it into the phone recessed area underneath the plastic, so that the buttons would be labeled according to how they operate. Now the downside of it is she won't get to see a button on her phone for lines number 4 and 5. And both she and Connie at the reception desk said that line is rarely in use. And even if an incoming call comes in, when Leslie is answering the phones, because Connie's away from her desk, she can still answer it because it comes in on a button down at the bottom and it's not identified as line 4 or 5. So anyway, that's just pointing out that sometimes a workaround solution is the quick, easy fix, and people are happy with that. Then another situation for Leslie is she had moved her old computer to this desk that she's now at. So she actually swapped the computers herself. I didn't do that. Connie was reporting that she was no longer able to print to the local printer that was connected to the computer at that second desk. And neither Connie nor Leslie realized the reason for that is because the computer they just moved away from that desk was configured to share that printer to Connie. Well, from what they could see at this point, that printer is connected to the computer on that second desk, so it should work. Well, no, it doesn't, because it has to be configured to be a shared printer. And so the computer at Leslie's desk has a different computer name than the computer that used to be at that desk. So this is going to involve a configuration change at Leslie's computer on that second reception desk, and a change to Connie's computer at the first reception desk. Another thing there is that Leslie was reporting that when she printed to that printer, it wasn't coming out right. The left half of the sheet of paper was blank, and the printing was coming out on the middle to the right side of the sheet of paper. And so she wasn't even getting the full image. So that's two issues to deal with on that printer. Well, the first part I dealt with was the page printing offset. The reason for that turned out to be that the paper tray number 2, there's a manual sheet feeder that was paper tray number 1. Paper tray number 2 is the paper tray that slides out. You can put a stack of papers in and push it back in. Well, that paper tray was configured by buttons on the printer to be for envelopes. So when she was trying to print, there was a message coming up on the screen saying to put envelope paper in, or change the paper selection for tray number 2. And I suppose they were probably just pushing a button to continue and just print. So I changed that configuration on the printer. Then I made a little change to the printer name, computer name and description for Leslie's computer to make it more fitting to that location in the office. Restarted her computer so that new computer name would take effect. Then went to the printer's applet in Windows 10, right-click on the printer, choose Properties, click on the Sharing tab, and click to share that printer. And then click OK to close out of that. Then go over to Connie's computer and press the Windows key and the letter R for Run. Then two backslashes. Then the name of Leslie's computer. That pops up a window that shows all of the shared resources on Leslie's computer. Double click on the shared printer, or you can right click and choose Connect or even choose Open. Any of those methods will accomplish installing that printer driver on Connie's computer so that it can print to Leslie's printer. Then in that office, Maria asked me to create, a staff member that was going to be out of the office for a while asked me to create an autoresponder and forwarding email to forward Yaro's email to Maria, the other Maria. So I did that, and that's handled at office.com, which is the Office 365 admin interface for their email accounts. All of their email accounts are on Office 365. And then for Raul, I was told that he needs PI cases in Access. So this is a Microsoft Access program where they manage their law cases for their clients. They have a area called PI cases, which is for personal injury, and an area called comp cases, which is for workers' comp cases. Both of those are within Access. So he previously had been just working with the comp cases. Now he needs the PI cases too. So I added that icon to his desktop. And then I tested it. It didn't work. I tested his comp cases. Didn't work. Well, the thing here is that this application within Access was designed way back, I think, with Access 98 or maybe 97 by somebody else. And it kind of needs an update, but we've been just getting along by running a Access 2000 runtime version of Access. Well, now that some of the computers in the office have Office 365, the application suite, that forces Microsoft Access. You can no longer pick and choose which Microsoft applications you want on the computer. So the computer has both Access 2000 runtime and Access from Office 365, which is the 2016 version of Access. So anytime that there's a Windows update that updates files related to the Office 365 Access, that breaks the Access 2000 runtime, and I have to do a repair. It's quick and simple to do. And because it's quick and simple to do and it's not happening real often, we've been kind of procrastinating on reworking and updating the Access files to Office 365. Part of that reason is because not all the computers in the office are transitioned to Office 365 yet. So that'll come someday down the road. Then the senior attorney in the office, that's I think I mentioned before, they have 4 named partners in this law office and a few other attorneys, and the senior attorney is moving more into retirement, and he bought those 4 laptops. So he came in with an external hard drive asking me to copy all of his files from his My Documents on his local hard drive in his office computer and his folder on the server to this hard drive. And he was intending to take that external hard drive to his second home on the coast and restore those there. And then when he makes changes, he was going to just email attachments back and forth to himself. So I started talking to him about using Microsoft OneDrive for that, because he already has a OneDrive account because they're all on Office 365. So I tried explaining to him how that would work. It's a cloud storage, and his computer in his office and his computers at home and his computers at the coast can all be configured to access the files from this OneDrive account. And from the user experience, it's pretty much going to look the same. Nothing really different for you to do. Once we get all of the folders correctly selected that we want to have synchronized. And I haven't yet got to the point of checking about those network folders, how I'm going to go about doing that. A couple ideas in mind. So he felt that he wanted to watch some YouTube videos or buy a book or something, become conversant with OneDrive. He didn't feel comfortable enough to just say yes to let's go do that. So we copied those files to the external hard drive, and I'm probably going to pursue that in short order here. I'm even contemplating maybe making that OneDrive video myself and posting that. Now that's not going to be a Tech Tales, because the Tech Tales series of videos are for more technical people. I'm thinking more along the lines of a PC Basics video or user introduction to OneDrive, something along those lines. And what's next? Okay, Giselle, a new staff member in their office. I was asked to set up an email account for her and configure one of the interior office computers for her credentials and her use. So I did that work. And then I already talked about. So that's the things there. And then this morning, as I was thinking through whether I should call Connie and Leslie and give them an update, they were gone. They were gone for the day when I did the work on their printers and computers. Is that I forgot to do one thing that Connie asked me to do, and this is an interesting thing. They have timesheets that they keep. Each staff member keeps their own timesheet in Excel, and they print their timesheets and give them to the office manager. When they print those to the copy machines, sometimes if the configuration gets messed up, it doesn't come out right. And what happens is it'll print hundreds of pages with just a few characters on each page. And so then they see that happening and they cancel the print job. So she told me that that is happening again, so I need to fix that, and I forgot to do that last night. So I need to call her back, let her know that I will get that taken care of. So that sounds like a pretty reasonable update for things from yesterday. I'll catch you next time. Bye.